No, savor it. It's the morning. Take your time.
It's morning.
It's a morning cup.
It's morning.
Take your time. Welcome to Rapid Reviews. My name is Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the brothers Murph, and it's time to talk about every game we played last month in a quick fashion, starting now.
Yeah, it's all the games we played.
So we're going to do quick reviews.
Yeah, it's
rapid reviews.
Rapid reviews.
You're
it's good
here
name.
now.
Alliteration. It's great.
It's good.
Yeah.
Very brandable.
Thumb it up already. Just
do it now while we go. You're not going to have time to follow later because there's going to be so many new games.
So much crazy. So one of the things I played this month was Calico. Calico is a great game where you are lying out tiles, trying to make a patchwork quilt, trying to get buttons and attract kittens to your quilt. I've been wanting to play this.
And color.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play this with my roommates because my roommate Sam, she loves cats, and so and just any animal game she's always interested in. Yeah. And so I've been wanting to play because it's super simple. You have two tiles to choose from. You choose one of them. You put in your patchwork quilt and you grab a new tile. So you always have two. That's literally the entire game.
Just explain it.
It's so easy, and it's great. And they liked it too, which is awesome. But I've had it at my place for a minute now. I've been wanting to play it,
That's right.
and just haven't ever gotten around to it. And so now we finally got around to it. But Calico, it's if you like really
Did it go over well in the house?
Yeah, no, it went good. Yeah. It's really good if you like kind of like puzzly, brain burny, but think Arboretum, super simple but super brain burny. Right. That's kind of like how
very little explain in terms of how it works, and then very much a lot to explore in terms of how to make it work.
Anguish driven, yeah.
Oh, that's good too.
Yeah.
Okay, I know how it works. I don't know how to make it work.
Yeah, man, how it's made.
I like that. All right, moving on to other things we have played this month. We had 32 other games. We played Long Shot the Dice game. We've done that a couple times. Now we're going to be playing again in April. We have had done some sponsored streams for Perplexed Games.
Yeah.
Same people made Roland, Wright, and a few other things. And Long Shot the Dice game is a horse racing betting game.
Yeah.
Where you're rolling and writing and racing stuff on your own little player board. You're going to roll these dice, one of which will tell which horse is going to activate, 1 through 8. And then how far that horse will move. And they're going one lap around this track. And then based on the horse that gets activated, a couple other horses might also move. Mm-hmm. And then you can do an action. You can go to the concession stand to kind of complete a little rows and columns puzzle thing to get different benefits like money, or you can move horses and stuff. You can place bets on horses. You can do these little helmets you can bet later into the game with those horses, or do these jerseys to kind of manipulate on those horses. When people activate, other horses will move too. So there's a lot of fun little things to do.
Yeah.
This is a game that I actually really enjoy.
I really
because I get really caught up in the race.
Yeah.
Because crazy things happen.
Because the race is done through dice. So what horses move depending on the dice. And you can manipulate a teeny bit, but not really much at all. So the cool thing is, it is like a race where it's like you're betting on something and you don't have too much. You can't really influence the race.
No.
You can influence what you're putting money on and where your bets are going and things like that. But it's kind of like buying a bet at a horse race. It's like in the end, you're not the jockey.
Yeah.
You can't help if that horse just has a bad day. And so it's one of those things where, and then on top of that, sometimes horses will get out in front really quickly, but then they just don't get rolled, and other horses, and it's the race aspect is always really fun.
Yeah, it does feel a lot like betting because you're sort of hoping and you're putting odds on, and trying to do what you can to give yourself better odds, but it still is a gamble. And so it's a really fun game. The horses have different abilities. You can buy a horse, and hopefully if they win, you get some money and
Super cool. It's legitimately really fun.
Really enjoyed our couple plays with it. We also played Mandala Stones.
Mandala Stones. This is a new board and dice game. I think it's out now at this point, right?
It's coming very soon.
Very soon, this month. So this was another sponsor stream we did for board and dice. We've actually played this game a couple times for board and dice on our streams, and it is, in terms of abstract strategy game, think of Azul, really pretty abstract strategy game with chunky tiles. This is it. It's really good. It has a main board that has these Mandala Stones on it in stacks of 4, and you have these artists, and the Mandala Stones will be 4 different colors, and they will have one of 2 symbols on it. So you're moving these artists around. The artists have the symbols as well, and so basically you move it to in between 4 stacks of these Mandala Stones, and then you will take any symbols that match the artist for the most part. There's a couple ways you can block and stuff like that. But instead you're going to grab them, and then you put them in a pile on your own little player board. And there are 5 different spots you can put it, but all 5 of the spots score differently.
Right.
And then instead of placing an artist, you can score your player board. And basically you're going to take all the tiles of one color that are on the top of each row, and you will then score them. But each stack scores differently. So this stack might be If it's the third stack, it's worth like 6 points. But it's the fourth stack, it's worth like 1 point. So you don't want one of the ones.
Like the right heights and the right times.
Yeah, some it's like the most valuable one is the one that's on the bottom. Some it's the one that's on the top. Some it's like it depends on how many different colors in the stack. So you're trying to arrange them on your board in all these different ways to score points, but then trying to also plan for the future because once you score those tiles, they come, if you score purple tiles, they all come off the top.
Tiles.
And then all of a sudden now if you have a big mishmash of stuff, it kind of screws you over. And it's a really thinky, but also very relaxing little
it's chill. It's
abstract strategy game that for me is like Azul, but like better. Like I like it way, way more than any of those kinds of games. I really like Mandala Stones.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Highly recommend it. We also played Nidavellir, which is on
BGA.
Board Game Arena. Yeah, and it's a super cool, super ultimately simple set collection game. It's one of those games that like looks really neat and has a lot of like production to it. We did an in focus video for it, and has a really good production, but it's a super simple game.
Yeah, really simple.
And so it's one of those ones that was almost kind of shocking how easy it is. All you're trying to do is you're bidding on these 3 taverns and you're collecting these cards with these little dwarves. There's like warriors and miners and things, and each of the suits essentially scores in a different way. Sometimes it's the more you get, you'll get if you have 4 hunters, it'll be 4 times 4 squared. That's your score for them, and the other ones there's multipliers and things, and so they all kind of score a little differently, and you're sort of pushed to get 1 or 2 types and get a ton of those because it can be very valuable. Or if you get multiples of each color, you can start recruiting these heroes, which have all these other sorts of powers and things. And so it's a super simple game that goes very fast, but feels really
it's got a really cool, this cool black and white art style that looks great.
Cool.
But it's, like you said, it's super simple, but it's nice because it pulls you in 2 different directions. You want to collect all of one thing because that's how you get a lot of points. Right. But you also need to diversify so you can get those awesome heroes. And that little bit of tension between those 2 choices is really fun.
It's excellent, man. So yeah, highly recommend Nidavellir. I lost my place. We played Bandido. You showed me Bandido.
Yeah, Bandido. We played with some friends. I played Bandido a couple months ago, and I really liked it. It's a game that, it's a very small game, so it's like $15, and I want to pick it up.
I know.
Because I think it's really fun, but this is a game where there's you have this card in the middle, there's a little Bandido in there, and
there's a bunch of tunnel exits.
They're basically trying to escape. They're tunneling through, trying to escape, and everyone has 3 cards. These cards basically also have tunnels on them in various configurations, different exits. And some of the cards have a flashlight, and that's like a security guard. So basically, and that's a dead end. So that way the Bandido can't go that way. And so basically what you need to do is you need to close off every single exit. Yeah. You start off with 6, and again, if you can get a dead end, or if you can make like a loop, that's considered closing off an exit. And so you're all working together. The problem is each person only has 3 cards. And sometimes never the card you need. And it's such a back and forth because it's very difficult to do. It's really, really hard to get all the exits closed. And what inevitably will happen is you'll get down to like 1 or 2 exits. And you're like, we're so close. We just need one of these. And you're like, hey guys, let's let you know right now, I'm about to blow this thing wide open.
Yeah, every card I have has like 5 exits.
Has like 5 exits. So now we're from 1 exit. Now we have 5. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so it gets really difficult. And it's this constant like getting close and then getting so far away, then getting close. And the game ends when you run out of cards or if you close off all the exits.
The game will end when you run out of cards.
I've never won the game. Don't really care. I think it's really, really fun. It's such a simple little game and it just works.
Yeah, it works really well on Board Game
Arena.
And
it's really good on Board Game Arena.
Also on Board Game Arena, we played Draftosaurus because I was like, man, Draftosaurus, I love that game. I want to see how it works on Board Game Arena. It works super duper well. You just click your dinosaur and put them in the pen you want, and it'll only give you the options based off the die that gets rolled. So super cool. We played 2 games back to back, playing both sides of the board.
And you're drafting dinosaurs, putting in your park. It's a great little drafting game.
It's a great little drafting game where you're actually drafting these little dinosaur meeples, these little wooden dinosaurs, and you're passing them around, putting them into parks. And there'll be like the one little thing that makes it nice is you roll the die, and it says like for everyone but the person who rolls the die. The person who rolls the die does not have to follow the rule. Yeah. Whoever rolls the die, it's like they have to be on the pens on the left side of your board, or the right side of the board, or the top or the bottom, and or a place that doesn't have a T-Rex. There's a couple little things. It just gives you a bit of like. I want to go there, but I have to go here. So it gives you just enough to think about while being very easy. Yeah, Draftosaurus, as y'all know, we love.
It's like, did you say it's your favorite filler game?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what my favorite. I have to look at what my favorite filler is. But
at least
it's definitely
right now
yours.
It is.
You love it so much.
It's so good. It goes down so smooth.
It's
you can play with everybody. I love its accessibility. It's dinosaurs.
What is it?
Abandoned All Artichokes.
Oh, Abandoned All Artichokes is next. Yeah, Abandoned All Artichokes is great. We played this just late at night because, again, it's a great chill little game. This is becoming one of my favorite fillers. I love Abandoned All Artichokes. Abandoned All Artichokes is a deck wrecking game, as it's called. You got to wreck that deck. Basically, you start your deck is 10 artichokes. You're trying to get rid of them all.
Yeah.
And so based on your turn, there's a line of vegetables in the middle of the board. They're all very cute little cartoony vegetables, and they have a bunch of different actions. They might allow you to compost stuff, which is you getting rid of cards, or like pass your cards around, or do all these different things. So basically, you're going to draw a card from the middle, and then you can play any cards from your hand. Artichokes again don't do anything, but all those other action cards do. And so then you play your things, hopefully get rid of some artichokes or pass them to someone else, and then you discard the rest of your hand, and then you draw, and basically you win the game if you draw your hand of 5 cards and you don't have any artichokes. That's how you win, which is also a really weird, awesome, cool win condition. Like, what an interesting take on that. It's like you win if you don't draw any of these kinds of cards. And so that's what you're doing. And so it's super simple, super quick, and you're just trying to get all these artichokes out of your hand. And then there's a bit of luck because you might just have 5 and 5 and you happen to draw the 5 you don't need. But it's so simple and light that you don't care like if someone just gets lucky. And it's really fun. I love Mandala Stones.
It's a super great game. I think it's just adorable and sweet, and it's one of the only non-standard box shapes that I will accept in my life because it's shaped like an artichoke.
Yeah.
And it does stand up on its own, which is good.
And it's small, so it can go somewhere.
So it works out. Yeah. We have Chimera Station.
Chimera Station. We played this the other night.
Chimera Station is fun. Every time I play it, I always go into it like, I don't think I like this game that much. And then I play it and I'm like, no, I really do like this game.
Yeah.
But then you mentioned, I think it's true, I think this game does need an expansion. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No, I don't think
but
so
I think
either,
it would be great if it did have an expansion. But it's a cool worker placement game where you have these little aliens, and these aliens can get genetically spliced to have different types of body parts added to them or taken away. And these body parts will have abilities that come with them. So there's these crab claws. So if you're in a spot and I want to go there, if I have a crab claw, I can just bully you out of the way, push you right out of the way, and go to that space. Or if I have tentacles, I can get more money and burgers and stuff when I collect those things. So I get more resources. If I have brains and stuff, I get points. Every time I go to a spot that was worth points when you built it, I get those points again. And then the green ones help you feed your people and stuff, and actually can produce resources themselves at the end of every round. So it's like very cool the way you can like mix and match the body parts or just double up on the same body part twice on a.
It's one of the coolest systems I've ever seen in a game. It's so cool.
It's really interesting, and you're building out this space station as you go, and you're putting these little modules out that are just different worker spots essentially. So I love the idea that at the start of the game, you don't know what kind of worker spots are going to be available because you have this pretty big stack. And, and so every game is very different, and the little engines you can build, the little combos you can build. There's a lot of great stuff with this game.
And that's one reason, like, as much as I want an expansion for that game, honestly, I don't.
It doesn't need it.
It doesn't really need it because there's also, you get these perk cards which either give you like an ability or a worker placement spot that's only yours. And on top of that, like, especially in a 2-player game, you go through maybe half of the tiles.
It doesn't actually.
You don't really go. It's honestly great. I would still love an expansion. I would love one more body type, and then just like more tiles and or more cards. Nothing else. But I would just like another body type, just because it'd be cool. But Chimera Station. I think it's incredible, and it's kind of. People like it, but it kind of also went on the radar. And I mean, it's a couple years old now. I can't imagine it's getting an expansion. But at the same time, Grand Austria Hotel's got an expansion. That game's like not new.
That's
so like,
true.
And it just got its first expansion. So you never know.
You never know,
but
folks.
I would love to see it. Yeah.
I played a game called Coffee Roaster, which is a solo game I've been interested in for a very long time.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I played it like yesterday on the last day of the month. I snuck in a couple extra yesterday. So this is a cool solo game that came to Tabletopia, and then, so I was like, oh my gosh, I was like coffee roasting solo game. I was like, what? And I thought it was new at the time.
Coffee right now.
Yeah, I thought it was new at the time. We love coffee. We're fans here. And so I read the rule book online, and then I was just like, wait, there's an app of this. I was like, I've seen this app. I've almost bought it before, purely based off the fact that it was about making coffee and not knowing anything about the game itself. And so I ended up getting the app for it, just because I can just like chill and be with the dogs and play.
Absolutely.
And it's a really interesting bag building, pool building game where you are trying to roast good cups of coffee. And you kind of, if you're playing a game, you'll go through 3 rounds essentially. You'll try to brew 3 different cups that all have. They have different. They'll have like a roast level you want to have because these little chips that you have are going to start off as like sometimes hard beans that haven't been roasted at all.
Yeah.
And then they'll have like from 0 to 4. And every time you end a turn, you'll roast all your beans that are out in front of you. Every round, you'll draw out more and more chips. And then when you go to roast, a 0 becomes a 1, a 1 becomes a 2, 2 becomes a 3, 3 becomes a 4, and if you go beyond that, you burn the beans, and then it starts to lose you points. So you're trying to manipulate this bag of chips you have to ultimately get things in a state where you're like, I think I have a pretty good bag of stuff. And then you can go to try to score, where you actually take chips out one at a time and you add them to your cup of coffee. Or you can discard a few of them if you get something bad. But you're trying to get to a roast level that's within a certain range. Like this, you might want to have, for maximum points, you need to have a total roast of all those numbers is 15. And then there's some flavor tiles and stuff. You need to have this amount of flavor tiles to have a bonus here, and then if you get like a bunch of 3s, for example, on the roast tiles and stuff, you can get that there. So you're trying to like do all these like little puzzly things, and it was quite interesting. And I really want to get the physical game because I think it'd be kind of cool. So Coffee Roaster was just like, I'm glad I finally read the rule book. I was like, man, this does seem cool, and I got the app. I was like, this is really fun. It's interesting and super hard.
Yeah, I bet.
Super hard.
Good, as all solo games should be.
Yeah, but you're making coffee. How cool is that? Love it.
I'm not
Love it
against
as a theme. That's Coffee Roaster. We have Crown of Amara.
We did.
Nick hates it.
I hate it. Yeah, no, I had, I think the worst game of Crown of Mara I've ever played. I had that a couple times this month.
I think I had my best game at the same time you had your worst.
I had a couple times this month where I think I played the worst game of whatever specific game that I ever have my entire life. And Crown of Mara was that. I love Crown of Mara. It's like dry Euro-y goodness. But it is a game where you have two different parts. You have like the city, and then you have like the countryside, and you have, I think they're called counselors or whatever, Euro stuff, on either side. And you basically are playing these action cards, and you basically can move one of your people around, and then wherever they land, they get to do that action. So when you play a card, you do your action, you basically have to choose which one do you want to move. The countryside is where you get resources. That's pretty much all you do there is you get like wood, you get pants, you get...
make some breads.
Yeah, exactly. You just get a couple Euro resources. And over in the city is where you turn those resources to essentially get two kinds of points. You get building points and citizen points. And you're going up this track with your building and citizen points. And then at the end of the game, whatever the lower of those two is, that's your score for the game. So you basically want them to be even.
Yeah.
And this is a very tight game, though. In terms of resources are very scarce. It's very difficult to get the things you want to get done. And so if you're not playing very well, you just get destroyed. And this is one where like I got destroyed, but I still really like it. I think it's a great game. If you like really tight Euro games like that, Crown of Mara is incredible, and you should check it out. But yeah, I had a bad game of it, man. I got destroyed.
I did pretty good. But there's lots to explore in that game, especially with the kind of ways you can play. All the same stuff in the box is pretty cool. Crown of Mara was that. We had Crystal Palace.
Yeah, we played Crystal Palace as well.
I think you won that one.
I think I did.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Nick won. Nick totally crushed. Yeah. It was a pretty close game. Yeah, this is a game where you're preparing for the very first World's Fair.
Yeah.
You're representing a nation, and you are getting prototypes for inventions and hoping to make, or you're getting patents for inventions, hoping to build prototypes of those inventions.
Yeah.
You're trying to get a little entourage of famous faces and stuff that might come with their own perks and stuff and points, and you're trying to build up. You're trying to go to the black market to kind of wheel and deal in there a little bit. You're trying to get buzz. You're trying to get the people to talk about your nation and stuff that you're bringing to the fair. And you play through the 2.5 years kind of leading up to the first World's Fair. And so it's a really cool game where you are using dice as workers, and you choose what value those dice are, and the higher value, the better they are, because you're going to put them onto different action spaces and stuff like that. And only the highest dice get to go to action spaces or get to go first. There's a lot of turn priority kind of tension there.
Yeah.
But if you select high level dice, you have to pay a pound rather, for every die value, pip basically you give. So if you want all 6s, you're paying through the nose for that. You probably can't afford to do that for very long. So you have to kind of balance your money in a way, and also try to stay kind of competitive in terms of that turn order stuff. And then you'll go through and activate all the locations. There's 8 of them in order, 1 through 8.
Yeah.
And you can do a bunch of things to get income. You're just trying to balance a lot of different
stuff.
You
are balancing. I would say the choosing
game.
your pip value is a really cool idea that I don't think works very well in this game. It's here's the thing. Every time we play this game, I end up liking it more. I really like Crystal Palace, but that's my least favorite part, because when we played this last time, I distinctly remember I was like, I'm gonna do a little self-experiment here, and I'm gonna choose the exact same amount every single time.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I won. And so I think maybe the higher player count game might matter more. But even though there's different player boards for different player counts.
Everything is scaled really
so
well,
my thing is never choose 6s. You never need to.
No.
You never need to. And so that's my only thing, is I don't feel like that is impactful enough, but I love Crystal Palace.
The game definitely does a thing where it tries to push you to be like, ooh, I'm gonna put a higher level die and screw this person out of this thing. And I'm like, you're not gonna play that way. And there's like,
and it's also just not necessary. Yeah,
like have to do that. So it's a thing where the game you can see is pushing in this direction. We can just be like, no.
Well, and it's, again, you don't have to do it. If you had to do it, fine, that's great. But it's like you don't have to do it. So it's like, what's the point? Yeah,
it's almost trying to artificially create this tension.
Yeah, but I still love the game, and I like it each more every time we play. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, so that is Crystal Palace.
Play Cubitos.
Cubitos
is so good. Cubitos is a new John Declare jam, and it's a racing game, a kind of deck building, bag building, whatever racing game where you have these dice.
A pile of dice.
Yeah, you pile of dice, and you're rolling out these dice, and these dice are going to have feet on them. Feet allow you to move. You're basically doing one lap around this course. Or they might give you money, which allows you to then buy new dice. And you have your basic dice, and there's like 7 other different color of dice. And they have these little characters on them. They're super cute, and they all do different stuff. And they
activate. They roll a specific face.
Yeah, they roll a specific face, and they activate. And they do a whole bunch of different stuff. And so that's what you're doing. And so you're getting these dice, and then when you roll them out, you use them. Then they go to your discard pile, and like a deck builder, once your draw pile runs out, you then bring all your dice over, choose those, you keep rolling them out. And it's really, really fun. But the best part is each of those different colors of dice has like 7 different variants for it.
So much.
So you have so much variety in terms of the different things, because the dice never change, but it's like, oh, now when you roll the face, it does this instead. And it's just so much fun. There's 4 different maps that you can like race around.
Yeah.
The game comes with a whole bunch of like suggested stuff. Yeah, it's just, it's so much fun. I think it's incredible. The production value is great, and it just works. It just really, really works as that kind of push your luck dice game, because you can kind of keep rolling to roll better, but you can bust. But even busting is not the worst thing ever. It's just, it really works.
Yeah, it's super good. It's really fun. And the fact that we're like, this is a deck building game with dice. I was like, I'm all in. We played Gloomhaven Digital.
We did.
Still for the first time in a while. It's still great. I really want to play more. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, we just don't have time.
Yeah.
Don't have time.
We got the time. We're not allocating the time.
We're not allocating the time.
We're not allocating the time.
I'm not going to allocate the time.
Yeah.
But I really want to play more. We've been playing plenty this summer, so it'll be fine.
We've been playing video games, some of that together instead of like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's like we've just shifted what we've been doing stuff together. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's still great though. Gloomhaven Digital. Gloomhaven's great. Gloomhaven Digital also really good.
Yeah, you're just battling
so much fun. It's a really fun one to play.
Super cool. We played Grand Austria Hotel. Speaking of,
this was also, I think I had the worst game.
You had 3 of your worst games this month.
Yeah,
there's another one to come still, but Grand Austria Hotel.
Grand Austria, I definitely had the worst game of this I've ever played in my entire life.
One of my best.
Yeah. Grand Austria was great.
It's a great game. You're doing the snake draft with dice, and then as you get the dice, and the dice were weird, as they are always. There's no game where it's like the dice were perfect.
The dice were perfect for me.
But you're kind of drafting these dice to make use of actions. You can get food and drink for customers, which ultimately is how you convince them to stay in your hotel. There's an emperor track. You can get money and use that money to kind of boost up your actions and stuff. And I feel like I used personally my money really well.
Yeah.
Where I was able to just make every action I did better for myself. And
I think I had like 2 or 3 rounds where I had literally $0. It was a weird game for me. It was like literally it was everything that could have gone wrong for like me personally in that game went horrendously. Like I got these different people you're trying to feed, so they go into your hotel, and then the things that I need to feed them never ever got rolled, and I even passed so I could re-roll them. They still never got rolled. It was just a very weird game for me. I still love that game.
So great. Grand Austria Hotel rips. It's fantastic.
So good.
We played Honeybuzz.
I love Honeybuzz.
Honeybuzz is cool, right?
Is great.
I really like it. It's cool. Like it does like enough things just to make it really delightful.
But it's really chill too.
Super chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this game, you are building out a hive with these little kind of domino hive pieces. 2 hexes stuck together. Exactly. Yeah. So and as you build out your hive, depending on the way you build stuff, you will eventually complete cells. You'll complete these little hexes that are empty. These little empty cells. Bees. And every time you do that, any little icons that are surrounding that empty cell, those are actions you get to do. You can get more workers. You can do accounting and just get money. You can sell stuff. You can forage. You can produce honey. And you can do those in whatever order you want. So this is a game that is pretty chill and simple, But you can build it in such a way with this kind of spatial puzzle that when you drop a tile down and you get to activate everything, you can activate in such a way that you can pull off a very successful combo-tastic turn.
But the thing is, once you put a tile in there and activate everything, you can't then like take that out and put a new tile there. So it's also when things like you can usually only activate something like a specific thing twice, 2 or 3 times. So then you have to put in more tiles farther out to the activate because you can't like hit the same spot over and over and over.
Build.
Like if you build, that's one thing in this game. Like a lot of times I'll build a really dope spot, but I can only hit it like once or twice, and then I'm like, crap, I haven't done anything else. I've been focusing too much on this one spot. So it's a really interesting little puzzle there.
Yeah, and it comes down to like, how do you balance all that? You know, and get the actions at the right time and stuff. So for a game that's really wonderful, where you are bees who have discovered economics and you're trying to fulfill contracts with different types of honey and stuff, there's a lot of cool, interesting things you can do. And then the art and stuff and the production is just really delightful. It's a delightful production all the way around. Fantastic art. So it's one that if you like want some kind of like worker placement vibes, spatial puzzle stuff, a little bit of economic selling things. There's a lot of cool little things in this game, but it still this game could become incredibly convoluted with the types of elements that are present, but they keep it. They keep it
chill.
Right. It's very cool.
Yeah, they keep it really good. We played Horrified.
Beat up on the mummy.
We did. Yeah, we played a little bit of Horrified
and the Wolfman.
And the Wolfman. We played it. We had a really good game of this. We crushed this one. But yeah, Horrified, which is a game where you are. It's a cooperative game where you are fighting like universal movie monsters, like the Mummy, Dracula, all the old school ones. Super like Creature of the Black Lagoon. So cool. Such a cool theme that works really, really well. But it's this cooperative game where you have the different monsters you're trying to fight. And you can choose which ones and how many you're fighting. And they all have different stuff you need to do to defeat them. So like Dracula has coffins in the corners of the city. You have to go over there and smash the coffins. And you do that by getting these items. You turn the items either blue.
Ultimately, pick up and deliver.
Yeah, pick up and deliver, kind of set collection-y kind of thing. But the cool thing is, again, each monster works differently, and when you have multiples in there, they're all on the board at the same time, so you're dealing with them. They're, of course, attacking back. They have, like, special abilities they do. And this is a game that you, like, when you see it, you're like, oh, this is going to be, like, a mass market, like, okay, fine game. And it's really, really good. Like, they took that theme, kind of did like a mass markety kind of theme on it, but works really well. Like this is a game that, again, it's like at Targets and stuff like that. And I'm like, thank God, because people are going to pick it up because they're like, oh, this looks fun or cute. And it's such a good game. Like that's how you make gamers right there, you know?
That's how you do it.
And so like, yeah, Horrified's great. I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's super fun. We played, speaking of enjoyable games, we had a Tabletop Live Network event like we do. And we did our first ever post-show. Yeah. We did a post show, which was like really chill and hang out.
A little after party show.
A little after party. So we got as many people as we could into a Discord call. And we said, like, let's play just one. Because people can easily hold up, you know,
you can play
things showing
remotely.
Down. You can play it remotely. So we played a big old game of just one.
17 people,
and just two, technically. We played, you know, the same thing, but with 2 clues and stuff. And it was so fun.
It was
just
really
one
fun.
Is like one of those that's like brilliantly simple.
Yeah.
It's just like, there's a clue. Write down a thing. If anyone wrote down the same thing, you have to erase it. Then all the unique answers get to remain. And the person sees all the unique answers, be like,
it's a little co-op party game. It's great.
Airbrush, and they're like, it is airbrush. That's all the game.
It works so well.
It's beautiful in its simplicity.
It's not much there, but it's great. What is there?
It's
you know?
exactly what should be.
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Don't need any more right there. So that was super duper fun. Really enjoyed playing it because it's just fun to see what people come up with.
Yeah.
You're trying to think of like, let me think of the thing no one will think of. And then 3 people do, and you're like, dang, we all went this way. And then they're like, answer, no one
went with,
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Super cool. I played Keyflower.
We first played Jump Cut. Mike, we played Keyflower.
I did play, I mentioned it before. I played Keyflower, also on Board Game Arena. This is one that we play Keyflow a lot and own that, and it's based off of Keyflower, and Keyflower is a classic game. And so I played just a 2-player game of it, and it did a couple things. One, it reminded me that Keyflower is truly excellent.
Yeah.
And 2, it reminded me that I probably still prefer Keyflow.
Yep.
Simply because in Keyflower, it is meaner.
Yeah.
It is, and there's the spatial element of the tiles, which is really cool. Because you're building out this little village and it looks really nice and stuff, and you have to connect roads to roads. You have to make it sense like Carcassonne, right? I appreciate that. That's cool. But in a game like Keyflower, there's already plenty enough for me to think about to not also be like, I built this road in a way I can't now connect this. That sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
That doesn't do it for me. Leave it alone.
That's fair.
In Keyflower, there's just 2 rows.
It's easy.
And even that's plenty enough. It's like your village is up here and your little river stuff's down here. That's it.
It's Keyflower's final form.
It does feel like that to some degree. And then there's this bidding with Keyflower and stuff for these. It just, I like that the draft, it's like I can get these things and you don't. So it just smooths stuff over.
Yep.
Both games are fantastic. Again, Keyflower is like objectively a great game. But I'm just like, yeah, I think
it's great
probably
trash.
I want to play Keyflow because it just smooths out a couple things that I don't like care about. I don't be like, I want to get into a bidding war for this tile. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I want to play Keyflower. I want to play Keyflower one more time.
Playing in 2 players is great because there's not a ton of that because there's only 2 people.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
those chill.
I do want to play Keyflower again, but I think what it's going to do is solidify that I like Keyflow significantly more. I think that's all it's going to do, but I do want to try it again.
I was surprised that I didn't think Keyflow here, Keyflower here, but I was just like, it is still here.
Yeah.
You know, it's still the top.
I feel like I'm not going to like Keyflower nearly as much, but
Hey.
but we'll have to see. But I do want to try. I do want to try it again because I'm like, I just wanted to see because I like Keyflow so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like Keyflow. But Keyflower,
cool.
That's cool.
Keyflower rips and it's awesome on VGA. It works really well. We played Kingdomino.
We just played
finished up
Kingdomino.
a stream with some
Yeah,
Kingdomino.
we played it like 2 days ago. Yeah. Yeah, Kingdomino is great. This kind of reminds me so much that I'm like, man, this game, one, I think totally deserved to win the Spiel des Jahres. And then just it's just so simple. It's a domino kind of laying game where you have these dominoes to choose from. They'll have 2 different land, or sometimes 1 land type. They'll have land types on them. And then kind of like dominoes, you have to match numbers. In this case, you have to match land type. You're putting a little kingdom.
To make it all make
a
sense.
little 5x5 kingdom. Or in this case, we were playing 2 players. And you can play 7x7, a big grid.
It's the way to play.
It's the way to play. It's so good. But so basically, you're trying to make big land masses all the same type, and then some of the tiles have crowns on them. So at the end of the game, you have like this big forest, right? And then you count the amount of spaces that are in the forest times the amount of crowns, and that's how much that forest is worth. That's the whole game, basically. But it's just a great little spatial puzzle because, again, you have to build in a square. And so, you can't build indefinitely in either way. You have to pay attention to stuff. I always build wrong and have to throw away a tile because I never...
And you always realize it,
halfway
halfway through, you're like, well,
Well,
I'm like, really? You know that? And you're like, yeah,
immediately, I'm not finishing this. Happen again. Can't do it. Impossible for me to do it. But this game is so, so, so good. And as we were talking about in our top 10 games that we've cooled on, which just came out a couple days ago. There'll be a card to it right here, probably, if we remember. Probably won't. Hilarious. Call us out in the comments if we forget, and we'll go through and put it.
Kingdomino. Put it in my mic. Kingdomino.
Boom.
The one that's
but nonetheless, we're talking about Fuse and Flatline. And Fuse is so simple. Flatline adds so much more. That's great. In the end, I'm like, it's not great. I just want Fuse. Same with Kingdomino versus Queen Domino. I'm like, I like Kingdomino. It's simple. It's exactly what it should be. Queen Domino is good, but it just adds more. Then you don't need that. The fun part is the laying tiles. That's all I want. Good thing is both Queen Domino and Kingdomino fit in the same box, so we actually got to keep both. Exactly. But nonetheless, Kingdomino is so good.
It's so fantastic. We played Legendary Marble deck building game, which still remains a classic for us.
An excellent, fun game.
Definitely not going anywhere. We talked about it again in our games that we've cooled on. It's simply that it was up in the airy peaks of Mount Everest, back in the day.
Yeah.
And now it's just
now it's K2.
It's K2. I was gonna go into this mountain metaphor. I'm like, I don't know the names of mountains. I was like, Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm like, maybe it's the same size. I don't know.
It's not as Everest.
Here's the thing. It's a foothill, if anything. So yeah, Legendary is a fantastic game where you're playing as some of your favorite Marvel heroes and/or villains. Now it's all mixed up and crazy. And you're going to shuffle together 5 of their little decks together, and then you can buy a mix of heroes. You're not just playing one hero, which is really cool, because I like that you get this ability from this person. So it really feels
You'll have
the
Blade
team,
cards and Wolverine cards.
Yeah, it feels like this team of heroes is working on this project.
It really does.
You're trying to overcome a mastermind. And it's just kind of straight up deck building. You get some cards, you buy some cards, you get those cards that are better, which you can combo together to get those cards and defeat those cards while buying more cards. And it gets awesome. Yeah. It just gets built up and great. So
it's great.
It's fantastic. Still a classic.
Still love it.
We haven't played it in a while.
It had been
fun to do.
It had been especially for you, because I played it more recently than my roommate, but you think a year and a half probably?
Oh, easily.
At least,
2 years probably. 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So still good though. Still good.
It's still stuck in my head. There's a couple things like, what's this mean? It's like, nah, I remember now. We played a lot.
We played what Meeples Monsters is what it's called. So this is a game that was, I think, just on Kickstarter from AEG. And we actually played this with our good friends Paul Ademi and Matthew Jude. We did kind of a big joint sponsored stream for AEG, and this is a game that I really did like. I liked
cool.
a lot. This is your... Gosh, like, how would you describe it? All people kept telling us it's a lot like Lords of Waterdeep, was what everyone kept telling us.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's a cool game where you're like bag building, but with meeples. So the meeples you're pulling out of your bag, they can do different stuff. They go out, and so it's kind of like bag building, worker placement, kind of like similar to like Orleans or something like that in a kind of a weird way. But basically, you're going out, you're putting the meeples down the spots, and a lot of times that allows you to get better meeples that you then go into your lodge, which will go back into your bag, and you draw them back out again. And there's all these monsters coming through the town, and you're going to fight them for points and stuff like that. And I did enjoy it. I think it was really fun. I don't know the staying power it would have for me.
Yeah.
There is a little mini expansion that comes with it that we didn't
There's
play
like these
with.
towers, and I'm really curious about what those do to the game.
Because I think as is, I'm kind of like, cool. I feel like I've seen... pretty much everything in this game right now.
Yeah, when I was watching, I think it was John Getz Games did a tutorial on the game, and as I was watching it, I was just like, very quickly, and this is a good thing about the game, very quickly I was like, I get how this game plays, I'm ready to go.
I know what to do. I know what to do.
He basically set up the game, started playing, it's like, I get how this is going to go, I see it, and then when we played it, the downside came with like, I see how this game is going to go, I get it, and without having those towers, and we don't know that part, I'm in the same boat of like, is this all there is? Because if so, it's really great. It's going to be really great 2 or 3 times. And I'll be like, I'm done.
The cool thing is like, you're putting out buildings, and you're not going to go through all of them. So it will be different from time to time. But I think this is a game that's going to very quickly need an expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good though. It was really fun.
Maybe those towers change stuff enough.
But yeah, it was one of the, I was a little concerned at its staying power. But ultimately, in terms of that play, and I really enjoyed it, but I was a little worried about its staying power. But it's still fun though. Really fun.
I would happily play it again, but I agree. Merv, Nick, the trifecta of just games that didn't go your way.
Worst game of Merv I've ever played in my life.
I destroyed Nick. I really scored like 100 more points in here or something.
You did. It
was intense.
It was real rough. Yeah, this one when we played at TLN, it was, you scored.
Nick's man in the chat, and I'm just out here like strategizing
while
he talks, and I use it to my advantage.
It was shocking how badly I did. Yeah, Mike got well over double my score. It was real bad. I did, and some of it was just like me not because I always play worse on stream, but like I didn't notice something that Mike had noticed where you go in Murphy, you can go up all these different tracks. You can go like caravans, you can go to the mosque, you can go to the temple, you can do all this different stuff, which is super cool. The palace, not the temple. But so Mike quickly realized that like all of the mosque buildings, all the mosque actions were like in a row.
Because you randomly generate the tiles.
Yeah, and they were all in a row. And so Mike, without me noticing it, like put buildings on all the mosques. So he basically had a monopoly on them and then just screamed up the mosque track. And then like at that point was so far ahead of me and was able to do so much more stuff that I was just like, I can't come back. And it was again, my fault because I was just not paying attention well enough, but I played a horrendous game of this.
Didn't go your way.
It was, I had a couple games this month.
You closed it pretty well. You had a good end.
I did have a good close, but it was
too little too late.
Man, it was. Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game.
Merv's great, though.
Where, you can kind of do different types of actions. You can kind of build up the city, protect the city, and do these different things. And you can go, I really like it. And more you
can go any direction you want.
You really can.
Yep.
The first time we played it, I was like, man, those caravan cards are OP. You have to get those.
They sure aren't.
And then I've had whole games where I've just ignored them completely and been like, nope, it's totally fine if you go over here. Oh, you got to do that or else you're going to get beaten. So
it's like 4 or 5 things you can do. And you can choose. You should probably choose 2 of them. But you can do whatever you want, and it's
Nick
really
did
good.
A ton of contracts. I didn't do any contracts, and I still got it done. But that's a very potentially
it's very totally valid.
A lot of cool stuff in that one.
So good.
That is Merv. Pandemic Legacy Season 0. We finally got another game, and we only got one in March.
I know.
It was a busy month.
Still great.
It's still fantastic. We're in July now. We're just halfway through July. We lost. This is our first. We had our first proper failed,
and
we didn't get anywhere. So we have to redo July. Without saying anything about the story, but it's really cool. It's just really interesting. Very much pandemic, but with some good twists in terms of like the way the mechanics work.
It's different enough.
Where we realized we also played all the Pandemic Legacy Season 1 last month. Speaking of, and it's so funny because when we came back to Pandemic and we had they're called incidents when things kind of spill over, not outbreaks. Nick starts putting these agents out and doing stuff, and I'm like, wait.
I'm not
this
playing
game doesn't function that way, which is cool. That like the outbreak thing is different.
It's very different. Yeah,
it's cool. So it does a nice few things. But that is the pandemics.
Pandemic Legacy Season 1. Watch a video. We did it all in one sitting. There's a video about it. It's really really
kind
good.
of recaps here quickly. Check
and
it
you
out.
should watch it because we worked really hard on it.
Yeah, it's really great. Nick did some really good map work for it. We played Raj of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers.
We always end up playing it. It's just great.
It's a great filler. It's
so
just
great.
My favorite roll and write of the moment anyway.
Yeah.
It's just really fun because I love Raj of the Ganges, and this just recreates
Just
Raj's in a beautiful
combo-tastic.
way.
It's enough like Raj's where it really feels similar in a lot of different ways, but it's very, very different at the same time. If you like combo-y roll and writes, it's for you. It's so good. It's so good. We talk about it every month. It's Raj of the Ganges. Dice game is also Raj of the Ganges. Both are great, but Dice game is
both great.
They're pretty neck and neck in terms of how much I enjoy them. You know, like I'm down to play either because they're both so good.
Yeah. We played Roland Wright, the dice
Wright.
game. This is a game where also by Perplex Games.
Yeah.
We played it in addition to Long Shot the other day. And this is a game where it's a roll and write about trying to make a board game.
Yeah.
You are using roll and write mechanics to complete little contracts and things that are thematically you're adding this aspect to your game. And this is a game that I really enjoyed the spatial puzzle because you're getting
spatial puzzle's good, yeah.
These groups of colors essentially, and you're filling them in on a board. Then you can erase certain bits, they're called, and each color has a different thing. When you erase it, it does a different thing. So there's some really cool stuff like that. I really enjoy all the mechanical things of the game. The only thing that falls flat is like, it's a game where you're making a game and it's like the theme is so non-existent.
Yeah.
It's just like, why bother putting it on
It's
there?
just a mechanical game where you're
Purely
literally
mechanical.
It's a mechanical game where you're putting dots in a grid.
That's
That's what you're doing.
Nothing about that says like, this is how I would design
nothing
a game.
wrong with that. I like that spatial puzzle, and I do like this roll and write a decent amount, but it's like, yeah, the theme, it's like, it's, and again, like, I mean, I guess you're gonna put a theme on, you might as well put something on it, and and why not? And I do enjoy the theme of making a game, but yeah, the theme is like super non-existent, but nonetheless, the spatial puzzle of just putting dots in a grid works really well. It works. I like of the two games that's from Perplex for the Roland Wright and then Long Shot. I like Long Shot significantly more.
100%.
But I do, Roland Wright is just fine. It's a good little roll and write. I don't think it's the best roll and write, but I think it's a good roll and write.
Again, the puzzly stuff and the way that I love the idea that you're drawing things in, but then you're also erasing.
That's what's interesting, yes.
That's something that Chris Handy's done well with Long Shot and Roland Wright is the idea that it's like not a permanent thing.
Yes.
And now stuff changes.
Yeah.
And the way you can manipulate things. Again, all the mechanical stuff in Roland Wright is really neat
Yeah,
to me.
and if you like spatial puzzles like that, check it out because it's really good at that.
Not a transportative theme, however.
Yeah, that's fine.
We played Sonora. We played a quick game of Sonora.
Yeah, Sonora is again
awesome.
Just so good. A flick and right. So this is again, I feel like we play this usually at least like once a month because it's very quick. But yeah, so you have a big thing in the middle where you're flicking discs, and it has 4 different regions, and those regions are over on your little player board as well. And there are 4 different regions that you can score points in, usually by doing something with cactuses because Sonora.
That's all there.
You know, and so the cool thing is you have these discs, they're numbered 1 through 5. That's their, like, essentially their power level. Yeah, and then you flick them, and then wherever they are, you can do like a level 5 in that area where the 5 landed. So it's just a roll and write, super, again, combo-tastic roll and write. If you know anything about us in roll and writes, we like roll and writes with a lot of combos. So super combo roll and write, but then it's just got, instead of flipping cards or like rolling dice, you instead are flicking. So it's got a little bit of dexterity, it's got a little bit of skill, because you're like, oh, I really need over here. I'm going to try and bank it off of here. And it's just like, way to take roll and writes, which are already great, and then just change it up a little bit.
Do something different with
Do
it.
something different and make it work super well. It's just so good.
Yeah, and then you take your discs and put them into your little things, and there's a lot of combos. It's just a cool game, really neat. I'm like, man, just way to go. Like,
way to just
we can
do
go
it.
Here. Let's just go here instead.
And it's great.
Love that. Love that. We played, I played Through the Ages on Board Game Arena. Through the Ages just remains one of the greatest achievements in board
that
gaming
game.
of all
You
time.
do,
So
sir.
good.
You love that game.
Good.
Yeah.
So good.
I think it's good. It's all right.
It's fantastic. I love that game so much.
You really do.
I do. I played it so much, and I haven't played in a while, but I played.
Is it good on Board Game Arena?
It works well. I prefer the app. There's no
comparison.
App is perfection, so I would not recommend Board Game Arena over the app, especially because in the app, if I do like 4 actions, I can do undo and I can step it back piece by piece, whereas BGA, it's just like you have to undo everything, and you have to like remember what was the first thing I did, you know, and so I don't like that, but like that's fine.
what do you do, right?
It worked well, and I did quite well, but I just love it. It's a civ building game. You're putting out these cards, you're building up productions and stuff, and you're trying to shift early on, have a bunch of food and things to get your population up. You got to manage the happiness of that population.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of great things that work really well. It's just beautifully all integrated. The new Leaders and Wonders expansion is fantastic. Can't recommend it highly enough. Through the Ages is
I like it on the app, but even then it's an airplane game because I'm like, well, I'm here for 5 hours. I might as well play Through the Ages. But that's it for me. It's too much. I don't know what's going on. I played it a bunch. I still have no idea. Thank God it's the app because like I'm pressing buttons and enjoying it, but I'm pressing buttons. I have no idea what's going on.
I know what's going on, but I have played that game like 300 times.
Yeah, I have no idea.
So that's why. It's fantastic.
We played Tides of Madness again. Like we've been finishing our streams like 15 minutes early. So a lot of like Sonora, Rajagans are like, we have 15 minutes. What do you want to play real quick? And so the other night we played Tides of Madness, which is a 2-player drafting game, which is a tough thing to do, 2-player drafting, but it works really well. And yeah, you're trying to collect sets. It's set in like the Cthulhu thing. It's got really good art, but it's set in the Cthulhu thing. And so like, but you are drafting these cards and getting sets. So this card will be like for every one of this symbol, you'll get like 3 points. And this one's like for every set of these 2 symbols, you'll get like 6 points and different stuff. And so you're basically trying to draft cards, just trying to get like sets of stuff. But in this game, there's also madness cards. So the really good cards have these big old tentacles on them, and those give you madness. And so there's another game called Tides of Time, which is the prequel to this one.
Right.
And Tides of Time was just straight up set collection. But the Tides of Madness added the madness thing, which is nice because if you get 9 madness, you lose. So you have another way of winning and or losing. And so it makes the tension of trying to draft cards and not going too, not getting too much madness is a really fun balance there. And it works really, really well. And it's like, yeah, it's a small little 2-player micro game. It's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Works really well.
Love it.
We played Tiny Towns with the Fortune and Villagers expansion, which was really fantastic.
I don't think I'll ever not play with them.
No, I don't think so either, because Tiny Towns is one that like I wasn't like.
It's brutal.
It's brutal. It's really brutal, and the thing where
It's
like
so hard
because it can be so hard. I don't know if it would always if it would eventually kind of cool down and I'd go down here with it. But because you have these Fortune and Villagers expansions, it opens it up just a little bit.
Just the mitigations there a little bit, yeah.
And it's really nice. It's really nice to have the ability to get these coins where you can put some extra stuff down, or you might want to wait to. Build buildings and build multiple at the time to gain those coins. And the villagers give you little powers. You can move these little villagers and build on top of them to have them be working a building. Then they can activate one of 2 powers, and in a game those powers will be different. So it gives you just like a little bit of couple things you can do to maybe help you out. It does also give you a little more to think about, but it works really well.
And there's even more buildings. There are already a ton,
So many more buildings and stuff. So I really enjoy those expansions a lot. And I'm with you. Now that's all mixed in, just mix them up.
Yep.
Shuffle up. You might get a game that has no expansion stuff. You might have a game that has some expansion stuff. If you don't have any buildings, it doesn't matter. You can still use the other parts. And so it all works really well together.
Yeah, because I love Tiny Towns. I don't think it was going to cool for me because I love how many different buildings there are. There's always a lot of variety. But yeah, it is brutal. And sometimes you're just like, this is hard. And this adds a little mitigation, which is, in my opinion, is pretty much always a good thing.
Yeah. We played Viticulture with Tuscany.
We did. It had been a little bit since we played some Viticulture. Viticulture is my favorite game of all time. It actually had been a little while. We just have a lot of games, and so but it's still the greatest game ever made.
It's really good.
In my opinion.
That helps solidify because the last couple of times we played regular Viticulture.
Yeah.
I think it did solidify that I'm kind of mostly only interested in Tuscany at this point.
Totally,
I don't really want to play base.
Neither do I.
It's fine, totally fine, but I'm like, it's in its final form now. It's in its ultimate form.
Well, maybe not. There's a new expansion coming out.
Yeah.
So
go next level.
Who knows?
Viticulture is so fantastic. Make wine, folks. We played Whistle Mountain.
We
played another game of Whistle Mountain.
Yeah.
How did you think about it the second time around?
I still really, really, really enjoyed it. I wasn't quite as enamored with it as I was the very first time we played it.
I think I'm with you on that.
But I still really like it. This is this game where you're putting on these polygonal tiles and then you're building them in this big kind of. You're building a mountain, a big scaffolding, essentially.
In this kind of canyon.
So you're building it up and you're putting out these buildings and you're activating things that are on the board with these kind of cool airships. It's got a really cool theme, a really, really great look. And then, but as you're building stuff, the river is starting to flood. And so the things on the bottom start getting waterlogged, which means you can't use them anymore. Really, really cool. I do really like it. But after the first play, I was like over the moon. And after the second play, I was like, okay, cool. I really like this. Yeah. But it was definitely, I was curious, like, is it going to be, I'm going to be that hot on it again? And it kind of got brought down to reality again. But I still really like it.
Yeah.
But it got brought down to reality a little bit.
It doesn't bring it down because I still really enjoy it. But it's mean.
Yeah, it's mean.
You can be very in your face with people about it and mess with people. And so that was one thing that when I played with Karen, we kind of realized, we're like, ooh, and that kind of soured her experience a little bit. And, you know, I didn't prepare her well for it because I wasn't really aware of it. Because the first game we played, everything that came out, everything went really smooth. Yeah. And the second game, and then the game you and I played, it was just like, this is harder. Like, this is brutal, you know, and stuff. But it's cool. I really enjoyed that about it. So I'm still way into it. But I was just like, oh, this is slightly different than after we played that first game. I was like, oh, maybe that was an outlier, and this is more the game.
It's still really good, though, yeah.
Yeah, but super neat. Just the production stuff is like bonkers. That's bananas. So awesome. We played Wingspan.
Played Wingspan the other day, yeah. It's been a while.
We gotta get the expansion.
We do.
That's the expansion.
That was the conclusion of that was Wingspan still amazing, and I would like the expansion. That was the inclusion.
Still amazing, and then like I didn't know with the Oceania expansion in particular that you get like new player boards, things change, and they kind of balance some stuff that I'm like, I'm very excited about that because in more recent plays, I've realized that some of those things, they are imbalanced, and it kind of leads you to go one strategy. So I'm really excited to see...
Yeah, the egg strategy, particularly what everyone talks about. Yeah,
so, but Wingspan's just so awesome.
It's so good. So awesome. I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
We also finally played the final, or not the final, but the new version
of
World's Fair 1893. So we played 2 World's Fair games this month. This was the new one that came out in February that celebrates black innovators and
just underrepresented people,
influential figures of the time who were underrepresented, most of which were not allowed at the first World's Fair because of
the color of their skin.
History.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they added them into the game as a way to kind of teach about like, hey, these people did amazing things for our country. They were very important
cool stuff,
to this era and to the future they helped create. And so it doesn't change anything about the game. Yeah,
mechanically, it's literally exactly the same,
Almost every component is the same except for the cards, and even those abilities don't card, but just the characters. The one thing that's really cool about World's Fair is there's famous figures on the cards, and they have information about them.
Yeah.
Or every card that goes that ultimately is kind of fuels a set collection element is an invention or a piece of the World's Fair.
Yeah.
One of the pavilions and things. And so there's a ton of information in this game.
Yeah.
And all this does is gives a new cover and adds new information.
Keeps
about
everything
new
from
people.
it. Doesn't like take out any of the old people. It keeps them in. It just adds in some more people. Being like, hey, these are people who weren't allowed at the fair, but they were also doing really amazing stuff, and they really should have been at the fair.
Yeah.
But they weren't allowed to be. So hey, now they're in this game, and so like, and also the cover is like this really pretty red cover and stuff like that. But nonetheless, we love World's Fair. It's the same game, and it's still amazing. And now it's got some more representation, which is great.
Absolutely, it's great. And again, it's just a beautiful like sort of way to go back and honor people who helped shape this nation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. So, World's Fair 1893 remains great.
Still
it's
one
a
of the best games
fantastic
ever.
kind of area control game.
It's just great.
Cool production with the Ferris wheel.
Oh, it's
super cool. We love like World's Fairs. I think we need a World's Fair so bad in the world.
I know. I think
we need it as like a healing factor.
I think it'd be really cool.
I think it'd be a very
especially now with
positive
tech
thing.
nowadays. Like, God, it'd be so cool.
See the tech of tomorrow. Oh,
man, it'd be amazing.
Anyway, that is our list. That's 34 games this month. Strong.
Pretty darn good.
Pretty good month. We had some new patrons.
Yeah, so
you guys like to shout out our new patrons.
Yeah, at the end of every Rapid Reviews, we always shout out the new patrons we got at the during the last month. In this case, the month of March. So thank you so much to our patrons. So we got Jamie, we got Narelle, we got Mary, we got Alicia, we got Zachary, we got Jack, we got Quinn, we got Jamie Lee, we got John. Boom. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, patrons, new, old, and former, and patrons to be. We appreciate you. By watching this video, you're supporting us in a humongous way. We really appreciate that. Be sure to just like this video. I don't know what you tell people to do at the ends of videos. What do we do here? I lost my way completely.
I know.
That's fine.
It's Rapid Reviews. This was it. Let us know what your favorite game of the month was down in the comments below.
That's what I would have said.
That's what Mike was going to say. And let us know what you think about these games. If there's any games that seem cool. It's Rapid Reviews is great. We like doing this. It's kind of way to recap what we did in the month.
Back on the month. How did we do this? That's pretty good games.
Pretty good games overall. But thank you for being here, fan, and we'll see you later.
See you next time. I realized when I got lost that I was going to start doing this part.
That's what I was going to say. You're doing this part.
I'm doing this part now. So be sure to thumb this video up, subscribe to the Brothers Murph, turn the bell notification on so that you get notifications for like when we go live with videos and things like that. And check out last month's Rapid Reviews and something else that's super duper cool down there.
Yeah, that's it.